The 2026 World Cup opener wasn't supposed to be a war, nobody told the players. On June 11, 2026 at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, the most anticipated football tournament in history kicked off between Mexico and South Africa. The final score was 2-0 to the hosts. But what unfolded over those 90 minutes was something that no script could have prepared for: three red cards, a referee picking up a microphone in front of 83,000 people, a 35-year-old striker in tears, and a ghost hanging over the whole occasion. Before we get into the match itself, let's go back 20 years. June 29, 2006, Portugal versus Netherlands, round of 16 at the 2006 World Cup in Germany. It became known as the Battle of Nuremberg: 4 red cards, 16 yellow cards, and a referee who completely lost control of a football match. Portugal won 1-0, but the scoreline was an afterthought. That match still holds the record for the most cards ever shown in a World Cup game. It is a 20-year-old record. Last night, the 2026 opener came 1 red card short of matching it. The Estadio Azteca became on Thursday night the first stadium in history to host 3 World Cup opening matches. It held the ceremony for 1970, 1986, and now 2026, 6 decades of football history packed into one venue. The ceremony itself was a statement. Shakira performed the tournament's official song Die Die, her 4th World Cup opening performance, a record that belongs to her alone. Maná brought Mexican rock tradition to the stage. Andrea Bocelli silenced 83,000 people. And there was a surprise appearance by Salma Hayek, which sent the crowd into a frenzy. But the moment that has been talked about most quietly and perhaps most significantly was the welcome delivered by Mexican-American songwriter Leela Downs, who addressed the crowd not just in Spanish and English, but in the indigenous languages Mixtec and Nahuatl. In a tournament co-hosted by 3 nations, that choice said something particular about Mexico's relationship with its own history and the kind of hospitality it intended to extend to the world. Then the match began and everything changed. South Africa arrived at this tournament after one of the most chaotic build-ups any World Cup team has ever had. A stranded flight, a visa crisis, 11 days of logistical disruption. Head coach Hugo Broos's side had earned their place at this tournament by qualifying ahead of Nigeria in the African group stage, and they were not prepared to be pushed around by anyone. Mexico opened the scoring inside 10 minutes. Julian Quinones, a Colombian-born winger who made his debut for Mexico in 2023, collected possession after South African defenders Fefilo Sithole lost the ball, drove forward, and slotted the ball through the legs of goalkeeper Ronwen Williams. The first goal of the 2026 World Cup. South Africa did not collapse. They pressed, they organized, they created moments. They competed for the entire first half, but the second half is where everything unraveled. 49 minutes, Sithole was shown a straight red card for denying a goal-scoring opportunity. South Africa were down to 10 men. 84 minutes. Thembazwane received a second red card for South Africa following a VAR review. His hand made contact with an opponent's face. The referee reviewed the incident at the screen and decided it constituted violent conduct. The ESPN VAR analyst later described the decision as harsh, noting the referee was not completely convinced it was a violent act. South Africa were down to 9 men. Then in stoppage time came the one that surprised everyone. Mexico captain Cesar Montes was shown a straight red card for a tackle on South Africa's right back Kulizo Muto, who was charging into the box. The referee judged it as denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. Mexico were reduced to 10 men as well. 3 red cards in total, the most ever shown in an opening match of a World Cup, the joint second most in any World Cup game ever played. South Africa became only the second nation in World Cup history to have 2 players sent off in an opening match, joining Cameroon in 1990. Remarkably, Cameroon won that game, but none of that is what people were talking about the moment the final whistle blew. 67 minutes. Mexico won a corner. Roberto Alvarado swung across into the box. At the back post, arriving unmarked, was Raul Jimenez. He headed it past Williams. Mexico 2-0 South Africa, and then Jimenez raised both hands toward the sky, spotted his family in the stands, made a heart with his fingers, and broke down in tears. To understand why, you need the full story. November 2020. Jimenez was playing for Wolverhampton Wanderers against Arsenal in the Premier League when he suffered a fractured skull in a head collision with defender David Luiz. He lay unconscious on the pitch. Teammates surrounded him. His family watched. There were genuine fears for his life. He was rushed to hospital, underwent emergency surgery, and spent 8 months away from football before returning to competitive action. Since the first moment, the surgeons and doctors told me what happened and the risks, Jimenez said in 2021. Sometimes it's not what you want to hear, but it's their job. He came back. He wore a protective headguard. He rebuilt goal by goal. He now has 46 goals in 127 appearances for Mexico, making him the 3rd highest scorer in the history of the national team. He had been to 4 World Cups before this one. He had never scored at a single one. Then in March 2026, 3 months before this tournament began, his father, Raul Jimenez Vega, passed away aged 62 following a fight with pancreatic cancer. He had been a central figure in his son's career. During the 2025 Copa Oro, in which Mexico won the championship, Raul Jimenez Vega told the media, "We're missing a goal at the World Cup, that's all we're missing." It was more than a wish. It was a promise between a father and a son. 3 months after his father died, Jimenez started in the tournament his father always believed would define him. On his first World Cup start in his fourth World Cup at age 35 in front of 83,000 people at the Estadio Azteca, he scored his first ever World Cup goal and pointed both hands to the sky. If you didn't feel that, you weren't watching. While the football itself delivered moments that will be replayed for decades, the institutional backdrop of this World Cup had already been generating headlines for entirely different reasons. FIFA introduced a new VAR communication system for this tournament. Referees can now explain their decisions via stadium microphone, broadcasting their reasoning directly to fans. The concept is built on transparency. In practice, when referee Wilton Sampaio took the mic to explain South Africa's second red card, almost nobody understood it. The clip went viral before the match was even over. Good intentions executed in a way that did not survive contact with reality. Then there was the water bottle controversy. Earlier in the same week, FIFA had attempted to ban fans from bringing water bottles into stadiums, a decision that was reversed only after UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer publicly called it out. "It's just wrong, and I can't help but think that it's about making money," Starmer told LBC. "So you can't bring plastic bottles in, but you can buy a bottle of water when you get in the crowd, and then it'll be expensive." The contradiction was precise. FIFA mandated 3-minute hydration breaks during matches for player welfare while simultaneously attempting to prevent fans from bringing in their own water during a summer tournament with temperatures reaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit across host cities. And then there is the story of Omar Artan. Artan is a Somali referee. He is the CAF Referee of the Year for 2025. He became the first Somali referee to officiate at the Africa Cup of Nations in 2024. He was selected by FIFA as one of 52 referees for the 2026 World Cup, a milestone that would have made him the first Somali referee in World Cup history. He arrived at Miami International Airport from Istanbul and was denied entry into the United States. U.S. Customs and Border Protection cited vetting concerns. A State Department official stated he was associated with suspected members of terrorist organizations, making him ineligible for admission. He spent 11 hours at the airport before being sent home to Mogadishu. "Despite the circumstances, I am in a positive mood and I am focused on the next challenges in my refereeing career," Artan said in a statement. "I promise you, God willing, that I will attend the next one." Hours after the 2026 World Cup opening match, UEFA announced that Omar Artan had been appointed to officiate the 2026 UEFA Super Cup final on August 12 in Salzburg, the match between Champions League winners Paris Saint-Germain and Europa League winners Aston Villa. One continent turned him away, another gave him its biggest stage. The history of World Cup openers is a history of signals. 2010 Saifuti Shabalala's goal for South Africa against Mexico, the roar of the Vuvuzelas, a continent's singular moment of pride. 2002 France vs Senegal, the defending champions, the reigning world champions, beaten on day one by a team that had never played at a World Cup before. 2006 Germany 4-2 Costa Rica on opening night. This tournament is going to be about goals. Opening matches set a temperature, they announce what's coming. And the temperature set on the night of June 11, 2026 was this. This World Cup intends to be felt. 3 red cards, a ceremony delivered in 4 languages including 2 indigenous ones. A 35-year-old goalkeeper of a skull fracture of grief of waiting, scoring at last. A Somali referee shut out by the host nation given Europe's biggest game instead. A teenager named Gilberto Mora, 17 years and 240 days old, born after the 2006 World Cup, came off the bench for Mexico on opening night, the youngest CONCACAF player ever to appear at a World Cup. South Africa, a team that arrived after a stranded flight, a visa nightmare, and 11 days of chaos, finished the match with 9 men and still stood there at the final whistle. The World Cup takes what's given and makes something that nobody scripted. The institutional noise, the water bottle bans, the microphone confusion, the border decisions surrounds every tournament. But what actually lasts, what gets passed down, is the human story. A 35-year-old man pointing at the sky for his father in front of 83,000 people in the stadium where the 1986 World Cup final was played, on the night the 2026 World Cup began. That's the record that matters.